So Python is one of the prominent programming language. Nowadays, mostly every industry uses Python. Like other programming languages, it is most popular programming language and it's beginner friendly. When you are going to build any instructions through Python or any applications through Python, due to beginner friendly, it is easy to build. The lines of code written in Python is very helpful to understand as compared to C, C++, Java, other programming languages. So let's begin and understand about Python and how it's going to be industry ready programming language. So first, so Python is most popular programming language and it created by Guido van Rossum. Okay, at on date 1991. In internet there is some websites are mentioned 1989 and some websites are mentioned 1991, but in that date Java also released first version released on the market. So you compare Java and Python when on the basis of year, Java nowadays is more popular, but now Python among 5 to 10 years within it is going to be most popular as compared to Java, and it is also crossing the popularity. So where we used, okay, it is used for web development, which is server side application development. Okay, Django applications we used to develop this particular web development. Software development, okay, software development means if you want to develop desktop applications, you can use this Python. Mathematics, mathematically problems solve, we have to use this programming language. System scripting, this is the most interesting part of how system scripting is going to work. Scripting language, mostly Python is also called a scripting language, general purpose programming language, object oriented programming language. It is mostly used in a data science, machine learning, deep learning, which are not going mentioned here, but is the beginner level. That's why I ignore that. Okay, you use this Python on data science, machine learning, deep learning. Okay, so you are first know about what is Python. Okay, if you are a beginner level, if you know the basics of the Python, after beginner level, there is somehow there is a different um, areas are there. Okay, if you want to build your career on data science, machine learning area, artificial intelligence, the data science, machine learning is another area. Data science, you can analyze your data, and that means data analytics, gathering lots of data in different websites and mm, different websites and different platforms, through different platforms, then you start building your analytic process by help of data science. So it helps you analyzing the data. Okay, then machine learning, deep learning, there is also algorithms are there, mathematical problems are there where you going to solve your problems, bigger problems and industry related. But if you learn beginner level Python, you go after this, it is very helpful to you. If you are not known basics of Python, it is very difficult to you to solve the different different platforms or different problems or different uh, situations which are arises upcoming time. So it is important for you, okay, to know Python at beginning level. Fine. Then next, what can Python do? It's the most important question. You have to understand what can Python do. Okay, Python helps us to build server, okay, used on server to create web applications. If you want to build any web applications, what is meaning of web applications? You know, there is some government portals are there. Okay, that portals can build. Okay, I'm not saying that this portal is built on the Python or Django, which is the framework we have to use. Flask also is there. Fast API is also there. Helps us to build web applications. Fine. So it is the very big thing. But in this point, I only have told you that if you want to build any web applications, the Python will help you. That's it. Alongside, if you want to build any software applications, workflow means suppose there is some project team is in your company, and that project team handle big projects, but there is some point if you have to mention them every day, there is some timelines are there, there is some target is there, so you have to give in the workflow. If you will want to build any these type of applications, this helps you. Then moves on to the connect to the database system. Okay, it is very graceful, means very easy to connect any database system. There is minimum lines of code, there is not required like Java, there is a lots of lines of code, authentication, lots of things. But in Python is very easy. It can also read and modify the files. Okay, both is very easily you can read and modify files. Python can be used to handle big data and perform complex mathematics. It can handle big data. Okay, that is very important. Big data is the another concept is there. It is also industry, data science, data engineers, data analytical engineers. There are different segment is there, which is generally enable the employees to work on the data. Because if you understand the data properly, you can think what is the predict and predict also what is the future, what is the future of the industry, what is the future of the product, what is the future of the company, what is the future of the company which are generally using the product and service based company. And also helps us to analyze for in future if there is any problems or arises, you can now you can build that type of applications or that type of precautions you have to take. If there is any future, there is any problems arises, you can handle from now. Okay, it is a very important point, you have to know that. Okay, Python can used for rapid prototyping or for production ready software development. Okay, it is very rapid prototyping. Prototype means you have to plan out. Okay, and suppose there is a project, you have to plan out that project and start building that project. Is very rapid. Okay, there is not lots of things you are going to be done before starting the project. It's very rapid for production ready and software development. Okay, that is a very important point. It's a production ready software development mostly help us Python. Then it's also completed. Then why Python? There is a lots of programming languages are there, but why we use Python? Okay, there is some C++, Java, Node, Ruby, lots of programming languages are there, but why we use Python? There is any point is given, so we cover these points. Python works on different platforms like Windows, Mac, Linux, Raspberry Pi. Okay, so it's a portable. Okay, just like portable means you can use any platforms. Okay, it is portability having. Python has a simple syntax similar to the English language. Yes, very simple syntax as compared to English language. Okay, very simple to write and simple to understand also, simple to pronounce, simple to write also. Python has syntax that allows developers to write programs with fewer lines than other programs. Yes, if you go for the writing hello world, there is no requirement of giving like header files declaration, main function declaration. There is no requirement. You simple go through and write print within bracket within double quote hello world. That's it. At the end, I will show you that example. Single line. If you compare to that particular lines of instructions on C and C++ programming language, and it will give you a idea why C++ is more complex as compared to Python, because Python is not more complex, but there is no complex. But when you go for writing instructions on Python on different environment, different platform on future, on different ways like data science, machine learning, there is also complexity as arises. But if you're beginner, if you're beginner and you understand everything properly, that is very easy to understand on that point. Okay, so that's it. Now we move on. Python has syntax that allows developers to write program if few lines is completed. Python runs on an interpreter system. Yes, there is interpreters is there. Every programming language, when you convert to the object code, mean that understood by the processor, there is compiler is there. In C++ we are using compiler. In Java also we are using compiler, JIT compiler, just in time compiler. But there is also interpreter is there also, because the line by line code is converted to the byte code. Like in Python also, there is a line by line translate is we require. It comes out the need is the need to convert the line by line code, translate to the converted to the object code. So you need you have to interpret as there. Okay, and this interpreter is very helpful, but it giving the Python very slow. Execution power is very slow in Python. Why? Because interpreters, the translation process is very slow. Because if there is a 7 lines of code, fine. On C++, the time which you have taken, suppose there is a 1 millisecond, okay, 1 millisecond, a 1 ms. Python is also execution is 1 millisecond at that time, because there is a lots of things which are generally we are not going to be right at the time of instruction, at the time of running. Okay, suppose there is a hello world, there are 7 lines of code in C++, but in Python there is a single line of code. Okay, other lines of code which are not required at the time of at the time of any instructions written, just like header files and declaration of main. Why we are not any mentioning any these lines of code in Python? Because there is no requirement inside the compilation process or inside the translation process. It automatically understood what is the meaning of printf and how it going to be work inside the system. Okay, that's the point. So it's very easy, but it's take a time. Okay, the single line of code you can't measure. If you write 5-10 lines of code, it takes a time as compared to C++. Python can treat it in a procedural way. Yes, you can procedural way, you can treat it as, you can write procedural way like C++. You can write object oriented programming way. Okay, that is C++. And functional way, that is a functions we are generally mostly used for the implement any problematic comes out in a real world. Okay, that's it. Then last, okay, there are some points you have to know. The most recent major versions of Python 3, that is currently we are using 3.9, and that is also very soon coming to the market as 4.0. Python 2 also is present in a market. If there is already developed any applications on the lower versions, you can't change. Okay, if you can change, the entire development process is started from the beginning. Okay, if there is a project is there and it is coming to the lower version, and the market release version is 3.6 suppose, and 3.2 your Python application is developed 3.2, your project is developed 3.2, the company is not going to be invest on that particular product, because the client is interested and wants to invest on that product and it renovate it. Okay, that's why there is a GitHub is there. If you want to version, if you want to control your version, you can control by GitHub version control. Okay, it helps us that the minimalist of code changes which are the generally on the changes of version, and it helps you the production development and deployment time also. So that's it, you have to use GitHub. Okay, GitHub helps us in this time. And otherwise they most of the, when I talk with any companies, they have told me, if the client is not ready to convert entire production or entire project to the next version, you are not handle that product. Okay, you are not go for the changes. It's a risky, and so many things you are going to done. That's the main thing, and you cannot focus on different other projects. It hamper your other projects also. So that's why when you going to upgrade your projects, first plan it, what is the maximum number of updates arises on that point, then talk with your client, then go for updation. Fine. So in these sessions, we are also built a text editor, written text editor to execute the Python. Okay. I will use the ideally integrated development environment for Python giving you. There is also lots of editors are there. We are also using VS Code editor. DOS command prompt, you are use type Python, enter. If you are installed the Python base command, base file means exe file. If you install exe python exe file, it also helps you to run the through VS Code. You can run it. There's a Python is there. There is such as Thony is there. NetBeans Eclipse is there. Particularly useful when managing larger collection Python files. Yes, it is very important to know which editors we are generally used. Python syntax compared to the other programming languages. How is a different? Python was designed for the readability and some similarities to the English language with influence from mathematics. Yes, okay. Uses the new lines of complete a command as opposed to the other programming languages which often use semicolon parentheses. Okay, if you write lines of code inside a Python, there is no requirement of giving as a terminal. If termination point is coming out, end of the line of code coming out, that's a semicolon. Okay, other languages are used as semicolon, but Python is not required to give a semicolon. If you add the semicolon, it is ignore it by default, but it understand internally. Okay, it internally understood that this is the end of the line. Okay, but C++, Java, you have to need to give a semicolon. It's a very important. Okay, so you can understand Python how much depth in Python. Okay, it will work on hardware level, it will work on system software level, it will work on application software level, it will work on user level. Means if the person know the Python, he or she can build from lower to higher level applications in Python by using of Python. So it's a very important language. Python relies on indentation. Yes, very important is indentation. How indentation work? If you are not given a proper indentation, there is lots of errors are coming. On the beginner stage, there's some students are very there is not very good understanding of indentation. Okay, and it is going to be complicated for them at the beginning stage. But when the code, most of the coding is going on and move on further, lots of coding, lots of examples they are going to be done, then it is very easy to understand. So there is no problem comes out. But in beginner stage, it's slightly difficult. Proper white spaces you have to use. There is a scope you have to define. Loops also define. Functions and classes also you have to define. Other programming languages often use curly bracket, but here is no curly bracket. This is a very important. No semicolon, no curly bracket. You can write on procedural way, object-oriented way, or functional way. There are the three methodologies are there while you are writing the any problem where you're going to be solving any problem in a Python. First is a procedural way, second is a functional way, third is a class. Class means object oriented way. So these are the ways you can write your Python code. Yes, this is the last point. These are going to be complete. How to print hello world in Python? Simple single line of code. There is no semicolon, but some syntax, some inbuilt functions, you have to remember that how that functions are going to behave like. That's like this print. In C, C++, their header files are there. Here is no header file. Here is no header file. When you're going to be compile this, means that is going to be interpreter, and internally all the things are going to be done. But you are not going to be mentioned here when are they going to be writing any code repeatedly. In C, C++, every instructions, every problems we are going to be solved, there is a header file is there, has include str.h or iostream.h. Int main function, curly bracket start, curly bracket begin, and then return 0. These are the simple template you have to follow in C, C++ on the beginning stage. But when you go for the Python, there is a simple stage, and you cannot go for the complex structure in C, C++. That's it. If you like this video, please subscribe this channel and share. Most of the people understood what is the Python. Thank you.